Alright guys, we're going to move on to our next topic, which is dot scripts. So the period, or dot, is shorthand for the bash built-in source. It will read and execute commands from a file in the current environment and return the exit status of the last command executed. The files can be in the current directory or anywhere in the path that does not need to be executable. One way to execute the shell script is to run it in a separate process, which means anything about the shell's environment and memory state will revert to the state of the parent shell before running the child process. Okay? And guys, how we run that is pretty simple. We just do dot and then space. This is important. There needs to be a space and then whatever the file name is. Okay? I can try running these scripts that way. I'm not sure if they'll run because I don't have them set up to run exactly like that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, see, I don't have these scripts set up to run like that. But that's how you would do it. You would do a dot or a period, a space, and then the file name. Okay? So guys, this last part's really important here. So, as it said, when it's run, it's going to revert back to the state of the parent shell before running the child process. Meaning that when you run it, any child processes that come off of it are going to take the traits of the parent shell. That's really nice and handy because then you don't have to worry about exporting all those variables across multiple shells. It's just going to run however the parent shell is ran, and it should run smoothly and effectively. Should, not always, but should. The most obvious use case for using the dot command is when you want to change your current context by setting new variables or changing some existing ones. You may also have a script that expects to change your current directory by using cd. It may also be convenient when trying to run a script that doesn't have the execute permission. Okay? So some handy ways to kind of use those dot scripts. So when you run an executable script, it's dot slash and then whatever your script is, in this case myscript.sh. The commands are run in a new subshell. While we run as period space myscript.sh, the current shell context will be used. Okay? So read that again. When we do it this way, and this isn't to be confused with the dot scripts, right? This is a different way to run scripts that we've done in the past. It says, hey, look at my current directory and run the script. This way it gets run in a new subshell. When we do period space myscript.sh, the current shell context is used. So generally, your current context is your terminal window. This means that the dot command will apply changes to your current shell. So here we have an example of that. We have a script here. So we run it as dot slash myscript.sh. The A variable is not exported in your current shell, and we just return an empty shell. So if we were to do echo A, we would get nothing back, right? However, when we run the same script with the dot command using dot space myscript.sh, the current shell context will be changed, and when we do echo A, we actually get back hello world. Okay? That's because in this case, we're using the parent shell, the current context, because in that one, the variable A had hello world in it. When we did it this way, we switched environments, it didn't have that variable A in it, right? So when it went to echo it, there was nothing there. Okay, that's all that's saying with the dot scripts. Another handy thing to think about is startup scripts. So there are multiple ways of running programs at startup and in any other Linux environment, and the three most straightforward options are, the first one here is using the update-rc.d command. This will allow you to launch any command before logging in. Take note though that if an invalid bash command is launched such that it does not give a valid exit error, the whole booting process might crash and never even arrive at the login screen, okay? Which means you will have to format and reinstall everything. So be careful what you make the startup do. I do not recommend doing it this way, especially if you have limited knowledge on what you're doing. You can really harm and damage a lot of things, including making your system completely inoperable and having you a clean install. The second way to do it is to include new instructions in ~/.bashrc, which is just home/.bashrc. This will launch new instructions every time an interactive shell is open. While it's not particularly dangerous and should be easy to fix by logging in with a different account and modifying it from there. Okay, so if something does go wrong, you can always just log in as a different user and modify that file. However, just a word of advice, do not write any command that requires opening a terminal to execute, as this will give you an endless cascade of terminals opening and running. and .bashrc and so on and so on, okay? So if you set up something that needs to open a new terminal in order to execute, you're just going to get all these windows popping up endlessly over and over and over and over and over again, okay? So what I recommend is doing this third option here, which is to include new instructions in the home/.profile. So in our opinion, this is the best method to launch applications you might be interested in using from startup, as anything included here will be launched from the first login shell only, which means no cascading, and immediately after you've logged into your account. So let me actually show you this .bashrc real quick. So if I go to my virtual box here, I do a cat tilde, which stands for home. It's a shorthand for home. And then /.bashrc. And guys, remember when we have a period in path names, that means this is a hidden file. Okay. So what that means is if I do an ls, you don't see that, but if I do an ls-la, which means show hidden files, well now you see all these files with periods on them, right? One of them being .profile, right? If I scroll up a little bit here, you should see .bashrc, all right? So that's what that period means. Remember, that means hidden files. So if I do a cat tilde /.bashrc, there you go. So these things are ran before boot up and login. Okay. Now if I do the same thing but for .profile, you see a little bit simpler format, and here we have less stuff actually in it. So here we see bash being ran. We also see the home directory being imported and setting the path variable for the user. Okay. So that's how you can get some things to start up automatically when you first boot up your system.